Hello folks, today I'm going to talk about a very important exercise. It is called the stop technique, and it was developed by a very important master of the 20th century called George Ivanovich Gurdjieff. Now George Gurdjieff, a little bit about him, he was born in Armenia, and as a little child he had a near-death experience when he was playing with his friends, and he was sitting inside a bomb hole. In the same time, soldiers were practicing shooting all kinds of bombs. And this near-death experience had a big impact on him. It made him search for the state in which he was in during this short and intense experience, a near-death experience, and it made him search for the truth, for who he really is. He traveled all around Asia. He traveled in Tibet. He was in Iran. He was in Egypt, all over the place. And he even visited some secret society called the Simon Brotherhood, where he learned a technique called movements or secret dances, which he later on transferred and used part of his legacy. Now today we're going to talk about the stop exercise. It's a very powerful technique developed by George Ivanovich Gurdjieff and applied in his Institute for the Harmonious Development of Man, opened in 1922 near Paris, France, in Fontainebleau. You can say actually Gurdjieff is one of the first, if not the first, person of the 20th century, the precursor to the personal development movement. Imagine that, in 1922, he opened a personal development center. So that's way, way back in time. Now, George Gurdjieff, he had different techniques, but today we're stopping on the stop technique, the very powerful technique that he used. In Fontainebleau, people were engaged in all kinds of activities and in all kinds of, from digging, cooking food, whatever, they were put to manual physical work. These people were mostly intellectual. Gurdjieff, you can do your research, he had students from the highest, the creme of the creme of society. And they were involved in different activities, but he had an agreement with them. He was going around, and at any moment, he could just say, stop. When he said stop, these people had to remain motionless as a statue for the amount of time that Gurdjieff was comfortable with, and then he was given the let go. It's a very powerful technique. And why is it this? We can go back to why Gurdjieff developed this technique. Gurdjieff said that man is like a machine. We are at the mercy, at the influence of external and internal circumstances. We are at the mercy of our emotion and thought processes. We are basically like a robot, not in control of external and internal influences. And Gurdjieff said, if you want to develop the control, if you want to know who you really are, you need to develop the so-called crystallization. Crystallize inside you the I. And the stop exercises are one of the most important legacy of George Ivanovich Gurdjieff. Now, we can make a parallel with a computer. What is actually a machine? A machine, a computer, is something that functions with 1 and 0. If we consider the 1 are the emotions, thoughts, all kinds of external influences which we continuously engage and identify with. And the 0 is when our internal computer, our biological computer, makes a stop on himself. Because imagine that, if you don't have the 0, and this channel is called zero state, you cannot function. At one point you will burn out. And many people go into mental illness because they completely go off the channel. So they are so much in their self and all kind of external influences that their zero is completely annihilated, and they go into complete madness. Now, Gurdjieff, he developed this exercise because he knew that by extending the zero, by putting yourself automatically in the zero state and you also develop the movements, is what it really matters for a human being to go outside of the influences and become a real human being and not a machine. And the stop exercise is very, very important. Now, I will give you an example which you can use, where you can use the stop exercise in your day-to-day life. Because we are not in a personal development center like the one of Gurdjieff, we are not under the guidance of a master like Gurdjieff, even though he will always be here. So whenever I talk about a master, I'm going to put his picture here, and he will always be in the video because it's something that he used, it's something that he developed. And we thank Mr. Gurdjieff for this powerful exercise, this stop exercise. Now, what you can do in your day-to-day life is use a very high state of, for example, hunger, or a very high state of fear or whatever, and you can self-stop. You can just, for example, you are in the morning, you are very, very hungry, and you prepare your food. You are feeling this hunger sensation inside you, but before you start eating, when the plate is in front of you, what you can do is just do a step, and do it not programmed. Just stay with the plate in front of you, and at one point, just throw in a step. And by throwing this step, you can focus on, let's say, your right hand. Yeah? Put all your consciousness in your right hand and remain motionless as a statue for 1 minute or 2 minutes, or how much you can, being in this state of crystallization, being in a state of zero. And this is why this channel is called Zero State, because we are using techniques to accumulate these zero moments, these void moments, where we are one with the universe. Zero is plus zero is always zero, guys. And in order to be in complete control of the ones, of the thoughts and emotions and all kinds of external influences, we need to expand the zero. We need to accumulate the zero each and every day. Gurdjieff stop exercises are very powerful. Now, this exercise that I told you using hunger is a parallel with Gurdjieff's main work. And it's the parallel with Gurdjieff's main technique in the sense that Gurdjieff used to put people in all kinds of unimaginable, difficult circumstances in which they become really aware with the machine. They become really aware of the fact that their emotions and thoughts control them, and they are not really in control. Gurdjieff, to give you just an example, in the middle of the Russian Revolution in 1917, he organized, and I'm not kidding guys, you can check it up in history, he organized a scientific expedition in the middle of the Russian Revolution. The left and the right were fighting. There were chaos everywhere. Murder, famine, and all this. And Gurdjieff was doing, in the middle of all of this, a scientific expedition. It's really incredible. After this, he went to Constantinople. He went to Berlin, where he was opening also a work house, working on all his techniques with different people. And in the end, even after this harmonious Institute for the Harmonious Development of Man, in the middle of the Second World War, he first decided to go to Vichy, which was safe, but then, with all his students, he decided to remain in the occupied Paris. It's incredible. And he was working in the middle of the Paris occupation by the German Wehrmacht, working in all these kind of difficult situations, because he knew that the real development is happening in immense stress. When all these external influences are on you, you can focus so much in the zero and so much in the moment. So, Gurdjieff is famous for this zero state exercise. Now, as I said, you can do this exercise in other moments of heightened tension, in other moments of heightened emotions, and you can just throw in by yourself or stop there. Remain fixed, remain motionless, like a statue, and focus on the present moment. And slowly, you will notice immense results. I will also give you another exercise, for example, from my own personal experience, because I work a lot with personal development in social dynamic situations. I remember one night when I was trying to appear different groups, trying to break fear, trying to get social, talking to different people, and I really got a lot of negativity. And my inner state became very, very bad. I felt a lot of anxiety, I felt a lot of fear. And in this moment, in the middle of the club, I remember Gurdjieff. I remember the stop exercise. Because I didn't train specifically with this, but I trained in Berlin with Gurdjieff's movements. And we started this work. And in this very, very difficult moment, I decided in the middle of the club to do a stop. And I just said to myself, stop. And I remained fixed there in the middle of the dance club with all this music, with all this chaos around, and I just focused in silence on this moment of zero that appears automatically when you stop yourself, when you stop the machine running and running around. And all this negativity, all this anxiety, I noticed slowly that was disappearing because you're not identified with it, you are just observing, you are just in the moment of zero. This state cannot coexist in yourself, so to speak, or maybe I'm expressing myself wrongly. But I slowly noticed that all this anxiety was dissolving, and even an immense warmth appeared from my heart. The fear completely disappeared because of the Gurdjieff stop exercise. And we thank Mr. Gurdjieff for this powerful technique. Now remember guys, you can train this whenever you are in a difficult state, in a very bad emotional state. You can train it very effectively, or like I did sometimes in these social environments, in these social situations when you feel fear. If you can go just move around in a place where maybe somebody doesn't notice you, if you're not in the middle of the dance floor, how I was, where you can just close your eyes and do whatever you want. But in another social circumstance where you are under immense stress, maybe you can retreat somewhere and just do a stop. Just stop and observe what's happening inside. So, very, very important, the stop exercise. Mr. Gurdjieff's stop exercise. Practice around using the hunger, practice in other circumstances where you feel heightened stress, heightened emotions, because this exercise will literally change your life. It will remove any identification with your low self-worth, with your depression, anxiety. You will be able to control these states and go beyond what you can imagine you are capable of. So with this, guys, folks, I say bye-bye for now and see you in the next video.